What is up, everybody? It's Josh, and welcome to Realm of the Dead, a paranormal podcast. This is episode number 3? No, this is episode number 4. Look, I'm already losing track. We are going crazy. We are interviewing like crazy. We're meeting so many different people. And tonight is no different. We have Brian from Exploring the Unknown. This has been kind of in the talks for a while to even collab at all. So, with that being said, welcome, Brian, to Realm of the Dead. And
thank you.
Well, just kind of introduce yourself and, let people know what you do.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So Josh summed it up pretty perfectly. My name is Brian. I have a YouTube channel called Exploring the Unknown, ran by me and my fiance, Katana. And yeah, at first it was a weird little get-go, because it was like, the name was Exploring the Unknown, and then I realized my passion for camping in the backcountry where no one likes to camp, and abandoned buildings and the paranormal, all of that kind of revolved around Exploring the Unknown, right? So that was the go-to, the catch-22, yeah, this is what these guys do, but then I realized it's way too broad. And then I was like, okay, well, what do we genuinely have a passion for? And it was the paranormal.
Right.
So
totally. So I guess let's hop into our first, question then. Let's just go right into it. What got you into the paranormal? What really brought your attention to maybe not only wanting to start investigating the paranormal, but what got you to really get that sense of, okay, maybe I believe even if it's just a little bit?
Yeah, no, that's honestly, that's a good solid question that I feel like a lot of people don't ask fellow investigators.
We dodge it a lot.
It's weird because I feel like, even kind of like we were talking before
this. One question.
Right. You were, we were kind of talking before this, you live in a Baptist town and I live in a small farm town. So the paranormal is very
risky.
That guy over there.
It's very risky. It's very,
taboo.
Don't talk about it.
It
really is.
So what got me into the paranormal is, to preface, I'm an only child. It's an important detail later on. I grew up in a haunted house. Ever since I was a little kid, I would swear up and down that I would, I would see things out of the corner of my eye, and they weren't like way out here. They were like here. So not exactly out of the corner of my eye, but wait, what? You'd have to do a double take,
Right.
I would hear things. This actually, it sounds weird and funny, but I would do chores, right? And then whatever, an hour or two would pass and the chores were undone. And my parents were like, well, Brian, you have ADHD and da-da-da-da-da, and you don't like to do chores. And it's no, guys, I swear I did these chores. I swear.
So the excuses were already building as a kid.
Yeah.
At least in my eyes, it was, just an excuse after an excuse.
It was. And, then eventually I would kind of speak up about it. I'd be like, Mom, I'm scared to go to sleep at night because, and it sounds so cliche, but there's someone standing in my closet watching me, right? Dad, there's a guy in my closet watching me, right? And it got to the point where I would have them take off the closet door, and I still didn't feel any better. And just one thing after another led up to doing my first ever real investigation. It was grab my phone, hit record, and that was it.
Just
it was
talk. Yeah.
Talk in the thin air. And I, at the time, I had two of my friends come over. My house has 2 attics, or the house I grew up in has 2 attics. One,
which seems sketchy, whatever.
It's a little weird. It's a little weird, right?
Yeah.
And so the house I grew up in had 2 attics. One was in the garage, and then one was in the house right outside of my room on the 2nd floor. Now, leading up to this, like I said, I've seen stuff, I've heard stuff. I didn't grow up with a TV in my room, which in hindsight I'm kind of grateful for, because then when I did, I'll never forget. It was my 13th birthday. My parents were like, "Hey, happy birthday," and I was like, "Awesome, sick, right?"
Right.
So I took my iPhone, and after the guys were done in the attic installing the cables and whatnot, I took my iPhone and pretty much like if this is a pole to like a light, I set my iPhone up like this, and I just let it record, because I'm like thinking, well, I believe I live in a haunted house and an attic is creepy. I'm bound to catch something, right?
Something's gotta happen.
And sure enough, so what I did is I hit record and I turn on my iPhone flashlight and I let it be. And the attic it's like a hatch, so there's no like internal ladder, like you have to like get a ladder from the garage and set it up. So I closed the hatch. Just falls from the ceiling, you know? Exactly, right. So I closed the hatch, I brought the ladder back in the garage, and I just let my phone record. And I probably left it up there. I think I had like 64 gigabytes, so I probably left it up there for like 20 minutes, if that. Right. And I went to go check, back on my phone after like 20 minutes, maybe 25. If it was a good day for storage, you know how it was back then.
No, exactly, yeah.
And I find my phone like this on the floor of the attic, and the flashlight is off. And I'm like,
okay,
what? And at first, I was already creeped out. I was 13, so my mind is going a million miles an hour. I'm like, maybe it was a mouse, maybe it was a raccoon. But how does that explain the flashlight? Like, my phone was recording the entire time. And anyway, so I go back to review the footage, and you see my phone like get moved a little bit, and it's like ever so slightly, like it's like, but it's not like slipping. So I'm like, I don't know, that's weird. I'm like listening for like little squeaks or scuttling. Maybe it's a mouse, right?
Walking up to it, yeah.
And so it was weird. And then I get to the part where my phone is face down and the flashlight turns off. And I'm like, that is so weird. And then I'm like, I'm doing one of these with my phone. I'm like trying to like listen. And
because those speakers weren't that.
No, they were trash. They were trash. And I kid you not, Josh, I hear this. Now, keep in mind, I'm an only child. I hear a little kid, probably, if I had to guess, 4 or 5, a little kid's voice say, "Grandma," right before my flashlight turns off.
Nope, I'm out.
And what's crazy, my parents don't know the history of the house. And before we moved in, we know that there was a family with a kid, because at the, I guess, like base or bottom of our deck stairs, there's a cement slab with 2 little kid handprints like this in it that aren't mine. And
that's weird.
That's weird. And so I see this, I'm freaking out. I tell my parents, right? I'm like, Mom, Dad, look, like you can't tell me, like,
No,
and so that really started it. I did an investigation with my friends, and we caught crazy stuff. Yeah. And it was just, from there, I had so many questions, and that was really what kind of like Ghost Adventures. Yeah. Sam and Colby, when they were dabbling a little bit into the paranormal in the abandoned buildings, I just had this fixation, this fascination of.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
What?
I mean, when it's given to you so much as a kid, like that's why I believe in like, and we'll talk about this later. That's why I believe in like Bigfoot and stuff. You watch all those documentaries and stuff, and it really just etches in your brain. But I want to bring up something real quick. So everybody that I've interviewed so far for this series, the way they've all got into the paranormal was because they've lived in a haunted house.
Really?
Everybody has had the same answer for me is I grew up in a haunted house and this happened, so I had no reason but to believe. Like,
Oh, interesting.
who I had in studio, like the first guy in studio, my friend, he was like, yeah, I grew up in a haunted house, and my little brother would always talk about how he sees bugs crawling on the walls and some man just staring at him in the doorway, and like his parents thought he was going crazy. And I'm like, okay. And he grew up in a very like, you know, strict kind of religious household. So for any of that to happen, it was kind of weird because, you know, religious households, they got their crosses and stuff. So he's the only reason was because, you know, his dad got locked up in jail. So that's when the bad stuff started happening. But it's crazy how all of you guys have had the same reasonings for getting into the paranormal, which is really cool because it's just a storyline of, you know,
the origins.
Right. Yeah. Oh, exactly. So that's kind of cool to me that so far I can have kind of the same answers within everything.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So I'm gonna ask you the next question is, what was the first place you investigated other than your home that time that really got you like hooked and you were like, if I can keep doing this, it's gonna be awesome for me?
It was, so there's a place in Illinois. There's a small, I don't want to call it farm town, but it's not a farm town, but it's a town like that borders a farm town. So there's a lot of like crops and desolate roads, you know, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's a place called Cherry Road. That was the real first like investigation that like spoke to me, because I went in there knowing the story, and I remember hearing it. And at this time, keep in mind, I am a full believer. You can't tell me that something, whether it's spirits or whatever, doesn't exist, right? But I hear this story and I'm thinking, it seems legit, except for one part. And the story goes, there was a young couple coming back from prom, and they're going home. They're going home, and Cherry Road is a long stretch of, like I said, road in the middle of nowhere. And all of a sudden, if you're not paying attention, there is a 90-degree turn, and I mean like 90-degree. And at the time, I guess there was a big oak tree at the base, but like the turn. And I guess they weren't paying attention, whether they were drunk or high or whatever, but they smacked into the tree. Girlfriend died on impact, and the guy got out of the car, went to the road, and I guess wrote "help me" or "help" or what, it was something like that, in his own blood.
Okay.
Now, the weird thing is, in the story, it says when paramedics and, you know, firefighters arrived there, there was no bloody drag marks. So I'm like,
wait, what?
Right, like it was all viable until that last part, and I'm thinking, like, that's weird.
Well, yeah.
And going there, we knew, like I said, we knew the story. We didn't know
only that story,
any of the details. We didn't know their names. We didn't know their age. It was a very, like,
that's crazy,
brief story. So when we started investigating, we started getting names and getting ages, and then I'm like, wait a minute, whoa, okay, hold on. Let's do some like real quick digging into this story, and the names that we were getting were the names of the girl and the guy and their ages. And it wasn't even just the name, it was the nickname of the girl. And I'm like,
that's
what?
See, those kind of stories, like small town stories or legends, whatever you want to call them, always scare me, because there has to be some truth behind it. Like, people don't just make up a specific legend for a reason. there has to be even a slight reason as to why it was brought up. And to bring up a couple out on prom night, trying to come home, how does somebody just come up with that? You know what I'm saying? So the blood drags, now that's weird to me because anything. So if that road, let's say, was haunted before they died, does that mean that whatever caused them to crash just took away the blood?
Right.
So see, that's how I'm thinking about it when you're telling me the story. I'm trying to analyze. I'm yeah, you never know. That's such a strong story.
And it's
I gotta investigate that road.
If you ever come up to Illinois, it's a place that when my friends my friends say they want to get into investigating, I'm
a lot of people say it.
I don't know where to bring them, but I always resort to either Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, which is another place that we've gone to,
right,
or Cherry Road, because it's a place that I always say in investigating, there's three different pieces of evidence that you can get. There's you hear a knock and then you turn around and it was your friend and you're like, okay, well, that's debunked, right? And then there's the 50-50 where it's the K2 goes off, but then your phone went off at the same time, and it's could that be your phone? And then you get the hardcore, you cannot debunk this. There is no scientific explanation, nothing.
Right.
That is Cherry Road. There's a lot of stuff so in that investigation that I was just telling you about, we were asking questions and whatnot, and all of a sudden we hear and we're like, did you guys just hear that? And we're like, yeah. It sounded like if you just went up to your car and just kind of went, and so we're looking around, and keep in mind, this is middle of winter. There are no crops. There's nowhere to hide. And so I'm
a road,
it is
standing in the middle of the road or anywhere near anything to
literally, when we had lights, and it's we would see if it was a rabbit, a purse, something.
Exactly.
After the investigation, we go to Walgreens, we get some snacks, and I get out and I'm trying to figure out
what happened,
what gives, right?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to tap, and Katana and our friend Spike, they're both in the car, and I'm tapping, and they're like, no, try another place, okay?
Right.
And then I'm kind of under, not underneath my car, but kind of on the side, getting underneath my car. There are two fingerprints, and I'm
because you're in the snow, so there's gonna be marks,
right? And I'm and so I hit it, and they were like, that was it, and I'm oh,
it was underneath
my God.
Car.
That was that was the investigation.
See, I'm the type that if people say they want to get into investigating, I always take them to the craziest spot so they can experience what's to come. I don't want to start them off lightweight, because then they're gonna go into it and they're gonna be like, oh yeah, this is easy, and then they're gonna get into possession or something. They'll be like, Josh, you didn't tell me this happened. So I'm taking you to the most extreme place possible because I want you to get the full feel of it.
I like that.
And sometimes people get mad at me about it, but you said you wanted to get into something that I know not everybody can handle. I can barely handle it, and I've been doing it for 2 years. I still get scared. I still get put on my toes. I don't want to go alone. Some people, this trip I just went on, a lot of them could go alone and they felt okay, and I'm like, no, I'm holding your hand, dog.
Mm-hmm. I get it.
So, yeah, Cherry Road sounds like a very interesting place. So maybe that'll be our first collab.
Dude, I'm down. Let's go.
Hey, I've never done a road before. I'm just saying.
They're interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, no, definitely. We have a road out here, but it's not too crazy. Unfortunately, it's actual people that I know that have died on the road, because it's just a dangerous road. So it's not something I just want to go investigate. I don't want to find out that Tom wants to talk to me, because I would just get emotional. So yeah, that's probably one of the craziest things I've heard since interviewing everybody. I think my friend who was in-house still has the craziest story so far with just everything that happened, because he's so like religious, and like with everything happening it's just so confusing. So I think he has everybody beat so far, because he's not even an investigator. He's just a filmer who I met at a Halloween event, and we became really good friends.
That's
and
cool.
He wanted to be on the podcast because he doesn't talk about that type of stuff that much. And when I started to get into the paranormal, he's like, bro, I might actually have to like get in this with you. And I'm like, okay. Like I was, at first, but then he told me the story and I'm like, no, that's perfect sense. You really want to learn more for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, even I'm learning a lot on this podcast, and it's my podcast.
And that's something that I absolutely love about the paranormal is no matter if you're 2 years deep, 5 years deep, 20 years deep, like you are always learning, always. Yeah. Like, my dad, when I was growing up, he was like, I don't want you, like, I want you to succeed. I want you to do stuff that you're good at, but like do stuff that you don't know everything about. Like,
exactly.
That makes you question, that makes your knowledge grow, because that's life. Like you have to.
Exactly. I mean, that bringing back to the conversation we had off of recording was, like some people don't see content creation or paranormal investigating as a job or a full-time job.
Yeah.
But do you know how much I have to learn before even investigating?
It is nuts.
I spend months on the computer, hours, days, weeks on the computer just researching and making sure I get the correct information, so that I still have people telling me my information's incorrect, but it is what it is. I mean, information's information. It's all going to get strung up somewhere, but it's a lot of work. Because before the filming and the editing, they don't think about what happens before the filming and the editing. They just go, oh, so you can just hold a camera, talk to it, and go, oh, I heard something, and then edit it. No, I wish that's all it was.
And I wish to like a lot of people, like I've seen on different like channels and like even on some of mine, it's like people like you make it like so dramatic. And a lot of people don't understand or get that, like, it's not that I want to make it dramatic. It's I'm trying to convey how I feel in that moment. Like,
in the moment. Yeah. Be a little over dramatic. But think about being in a dark building in the middle of the woods, and you're hearing things. Like, in the middle of the woods. So, like, we just did the Indiana State Sanitarium. That's in the middle of basically the mountains. Like, it's in the middle of the woods.
Oh,
complete darkness. And you're hearing all this stuff. You think I'm going to be over dramatic? Probably, because I'm trying to figure out what is going on. Like, I'm literally, you hear a knock and you're like, well, who could be here? Nobody, right? No, nobody. A raccoon, maybe. Like, but that's it.
Right.
But they were in there this time around because it was cold, so that was a place they could stay. So we did debunk a lot of stuff, but then there's a lot of stuff that happened was just like let's get the hell out of here.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
This leads me to my next question, which would be, where is the scariest place you've been to investigate or just explore? Like, where is that one place that you went that was just like, holy cow, I'm terrified, and I may or may not go back. And if you don't have one, that's okay. That's just one of my questions.
It's a good question, because I feel like every investigator, when like if this hat, like it says just paranormal investigator, and sometimes I'll get like, is that real? And I'm like, yeah, oh, what you crazy, and like 3 or 4 instances pop up, but there's one that really kind of
set the tone.
Yeah, just like I tell them and they're like, what? And it was a actual recent investigation. One of my old coworkers, she has an apartment, and she was just moving into the place, and she's interested in the paranormal, knows very little about it.
Okay.
So, we go and we do an investigation. All went well. She was, respectful and awesome and into it. And so we did another one, and then we did one more. And it was all great and fine and dandy when we showed up. We were asking questions, and it was just like the mood was just kind of off.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm getting goosebumps because like how you're talking about how this went for you is exactly how the Indiana State Sanitarium went for us.
I've heard different things of that location.
We literally walk in and everything seems fine, except for the fact that when we drive up to the gate to actually go in for the night, my friend, she literally goes, I feel like tonight's where we see something that we don't want to see and something actually happens to where we wake the fuck up. My friend was just pissed off at everybody, like out of nowhere. Like she was just pissed off at everybody. Like,
that's so weird. That is so weird.
I saw your light flicker on and off behind you, and I got scared for a minute.
That's well, it's weird.
I was like, hey, now.
it's weird. So that was my fiance. I heard her. Yeah. It's weird that you say, and I'll get back into the story, but that light. So there are so many instances. So, in the house that I live in now is actually haunted.
Oh.
Funny enough. Yeah, right. Exactly. I just can't seem to escape.
Just can't get out of it.
But it's weird because, so I don't want to say weird. I don't want to make it sound like strange.
Right.
We have a house ghost. His name is Thomas. Okay. We think he's anywhere between 13 to maybe 15 years old. And he loves to play pranks. The first ever investigation that we did, he zapped me through an earbud during the Estes method. So, like we'll ask him, like he'll say like run, and I'm like, well,
what am I running from?
Right, like, well, what do you mean run? Right. And so we're trying to like, this is all during like an Ouija board session, right? And so we're just like, are you telling us to run? No. Are you running out of time? No. Dead. Ha ha. And it's like, all right, listen, buddy. No, So it's cool because he's got that personality to him, that like spunk.
Right.
But he loves to play with the lights. Loves it. And it's like,
I mean, I as a kid love to just
yeah,
it's just fun, it's just fun. But yeah, so it's fun. It's funny how we both kind of have that same kind of story of how things happen. That's weird.
Well, it's interesting too because you see like The Exorcist, as you have a very cool poster that I am very jealous of, but whatever. You see movies like The Exorcist and The Conjuring and Sinister, and it's like the paranormal.
You think you look into it. Like now when I saw the newer Exorcist that just came out.
Yeah.
Being an investigator, I was like, nah, I've seen some of this stuff in real life, and I ain't playing around. Like, so it's different being an investigator now than it was when I saw the original Exorcist, where I was like, this is totally Hollywood.
Right. Believe it or not, like my fiance and I, we're not really religious, and we get a lot of the questions like, well, if you don't, if you're not religious, if like, how do you believe in the paranormal? And it's like, well, we just do. I don't know.
But that's like two different. So like, I'm not really religious, but I know where I stand.
Right.
Like
right.
I can still, I can still believe in God or a higher power and not be super religious. I mean, I wear a cross around my neck, but that doesn't mean I'm super religious.
Right.
I don't go to church every Sunday. I don't have time to go to church, unfortunately.
Yep, I get it.
Like, I feel like that's like people get that twisted, and that's what upsets me a lot too about like some people in my family, because like I grew up in a very like religious family, like I said, like Catholic family at that, and they get that twisted a little bit. They're like, well, you're not really religious, you don't go to church, so what's going to protect you? And I'm like, my higher power? What?
Right. What?
I still pray. Like I pray, I do, but that doesn't mean I'm super religious.
Well, and it's, you know, it's interesting because for a while there was like between me and Katana, just kind of like a fun little debate, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Is religion and the paranormal two separate entities, if you will, or are they combined in some way, shape, or form? Because you get into like Ed and Lorraine Warren, right?
Oh God, yeah.
Lorraine had this supernatural sixth sense, and you know, a lot of their cases they were doing exorcisms where they would pray to God and
you know,
all these things.
Yeah, that's
like,
so weird.
And so, like going and seeing The Conjuring and The Exorcist and Sinister and da-da-da-da.
Yeah, right.
We started, because we know there are rules to the paranormal, and we want to be respectful and follow those rules because, like we said,
you know,
exactly, and like we're not really religious, and so we both like are very well aware. It's like if you get possessed, if I get possessed, it's like in our eyes, GG, like, you know, it's you know, and so watching these movies, it's like we always questioned, did, you know, Abigail really get thrown across the room in the Conjuring house? Did that really happen? Is that really a thing? Or is it, you know? And so before this investigation, that was by far the most like...
Oh yeah, you got to finish telling me about it. I just interrupted and then we got distracted.
Yeah, no, you were all good.
So your scariest, wherever you left off there about your scariest location that you've been.
Everything that night that we had questioned, you know, is this like Hollywood answered? Like everything. And so anyway, so our my old coworker's neighbor came over, and she was really interested and into what we were doing, and she was like, well, can you come over to my apartment? And I was like, sure. Literally right next door.
Yeah.
Awesome, great. First thing, we walk in, we look to the right, it's like a little closet, like a little coat closet, and she has a Raggedy Ann doll.
Nope. See, I can deal with clowns and I can deal with everything in here, but you give me a Raggedy Ann doll, I am done.
And it's tipped over. And I'm like, you know what that is, right? Like what that symbolizes. And she was like, yeah, I know, but I got it when I was a little kid, a gift from my parents. I'm like,
you give it back.
Yeah, just burn it. Like, you know,
burn it.
So
burn it, bury it,
right.
Get
it out of my sight, you know. But we're going through, and I know there's been a lot of controversy in the paranormal community, more so on the viewer end of things, of whether or not these phone apps work. These phone apps that you see, and you know, and I'll be honest, I was skeptical. I was genuinely really skeptical, and
so me as well. But I've started to use them more.
I have too,
and I get so many answers or questions answered perfectly,
accurate.
Right. So it's like, well, is Siri listening to me through the app?
It's interesting,
but we also have to understand that it's electronic. It's just like one of the ovuluses.
It is,
in my opinion, it's just like an ovulus.
Right.
Like what's the difference other than I have a few phone numbers and some apps on my phone?
It's true.
than an obelisk. Like that's how I looked at it. But you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So phone app, right?
So we were testing out the app Spirit Talker, and so it's just Spirit Box. Yeah. So Spirit Box, and we were going through, and we also had the K2, and I'm walking around, and how her apartment is laid out, it's like it's a big apartment. It's very beautiful, and so you walk in, there's that coat closet, you go straight for like 10 feet, and then you can take a left, and then there's this big long hallway. It's probably 50 feet. You go down that hallway, probably 10 feet.
You have an Annabelle doll, and you have a 50-foot hallway. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's The Conjuring and The Shining right there.
You're not gonna die. You're not gonna die.
And so 10 feet down in this 50-foot hallway to the left, there's a kitchen, and when you enter the kitchen, directly to the right, like I can like go like this and slap the fridge. And past the fridge, Josh, I can't describe to you the feeling of just literally an inch past the fridge. It was like walking into a room that like your parents were just reaming you in. Like you don't belong there. It
was like complete darkness. It was just like
it's sad feeling. Despair, heavy feeling, and it's like
no. See, those are always the places that like scare me away because I don't want to be feeling whatever they're feeling, especially if it's like that.
And before this investigation, we've investigated. Everything was great. Right. Both Katana and I have had our fair share of
craziness,
paranormal stuff. Like I had an attachment of a shadow person. That was its own thing. She has an actual physical scratch on her back from a spirit. So we've had our fair share.
Right. Yeah.
After the fact, after this investigation, we go in and I'm sorry, let me back up. Past this fridge, it's a different realm. I can't describe it, but like you could feel it. Like,
yeah.
Pretend like you're at the gym and you pick up like 500 pounds. Like it is heavy. Like you feel it. It's
oh yeah.
Oh my God.
And you're just struggling to breathe. You're struggling to not give up.
And so down this hallway, there's a back room, and this back room is just kind of. It's a back room. It's like a storage room almost.
Right.
Like a little lounge area. But then in this back room, there's another room to the right. And so I guess that was initially going to be her bedroom, but she said that she just didn't like the vibes in there. And the room, like that was going to be a bedroom area it was a mess. And I literally, I met my ex-coworker's friend 30 minutes ago, and this room had underwear and bras, and so I'm not gonna be like camera in the like, you know what I mean? Like,
no,
I
right.
This girl,
and
so we're in this back room, and we step past the door frame, ice cold. It is like it had its own like temperature, its own atmosphere. And so it's me, Katana, my old coworker, her neighbor, and then my old coworker's younger brother, and then an old coworker of mine. So we had 7 people. It was a bigger group.
Big group.
We all like, I was the first in the room with the K2, and I remember like looking behind me, and all of their faces were like, whoa. Like it was just like wild. And so I noticed there's a easel, like a painting easel, in the back corner of the room. And I'm like, that's a weird place for an easel. So I turned to Lee's the neighbor. I turned to Lee and I'm like, what's with the easel? And she was like, oh, well, that's because my cat would put himself in the corner and just look up. Like literally like face the corner.
Hey, let me hear you. Hang on. So I can see the channels on like volume.
Yeah.
There was just another voice over yours like 5 seconds ago.
What?
I swear on everything.
Wait, what?
I wish I could play it back, but I can't play it back yet until it's done being live. But it sounded like a kind of like a hmm. I don't know if it was like a woman's voice. I don't know if it was like a child's voice, but it was over yours because yours is all green and mine is all green, but then it went red on yours, which means it was overexposed.
Wait, was it that? Was it maybe my chair?
No, it was like a like when you were talking about that, so like it didn't hear you or something. Or like
Bro, oh my
like so now it's going into red for me because I'm talking louder because I'm like
yeah.
I promise you when I'm gonna when I play this back, I'm
Please
singing
send it to me, please.
if you can hear it, it's like I swear, like I don't even have headphones on or nothing, so I have an open room, like I can hear everything. I promise. I'm sorry, I keep like interrupting you.
No, you're good. You're good. Oh my god.
I thought it was like my chair because my chair makes noises, but no, it was like a clear like I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Wait.
It was like a
I'm trying
I thought maybe your like fiance was just like talking to somebody. I don't know, like.
Well, she's all the way downstairs.
Oh, well then I don't know. It literally, I swear on everything, it was like
Oh, I cannot wait to see that or hear this.
Bro.
Oh my god.
And you can see my face for a minute, like you weren't really paying attention. You were talking, but you can see my face go. Because like I'm looking around, like trying to see if I see anything.
God.
And like I thought it was me because I'm nasally, so sometimes like when I breathe,
Yeah.
but it wasn't. It was like a clear like I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I
This is
appreciate
crazy.
you letting me know.
I'm like sweating right now, bro, and I'm not even in your house.
So that I will say, if you were to ask me, and it's crazy because I feel like what I'm gonna say and what I'm about to say, it kind of contradicts itself.
Yeah,
but
okay.
like, if you were to ask me what is your most active location, it'd be here. Like
Yeah.
1,000. The house itself, just to give you an idea, is over 160 years old.
Okay. So
It's got history, you know. I'm very excited to watch that. That's wow. Okay.
Hang on, I'm gonna make a clip of this because I'm about to post it. All right, guys. So I'm currently filming for Realm of the Dead. I'm on call with Brian from Exploring the Unknown, and we were like mid-sentence, and all of a sudden, over his voice, I hear a and it was like a girl's voice or like a little like a child's voice. And all I do is I like stop him in his tracks. I'm like, wait, I gotta tell you something. And he goes, what? And I was like, there was just another voice over yours. Like my channels, like I could see my channels, and his went red immediately, and he was talking so low.
Oh no, bro.
Great stuff.
Oh,
Great stuff on Realm of the Dead. Y'all better subscribe.
Subscribe to this, man. You understand me?
That's oh my god. Okay, well, you can finish now. I'm sorry, I keep like interrupting
No,
you. Like,
you are all good.
And I heard it so clear because, like I said, I'm not wearing headphones, so I hear like my whole room is open, so I'd know if it was my room.
Right.
Because my speakers are right here, so I can hear you from each corner of my desk. So it was perfectly sound.
Wow.
Well, you want to just move on to the next question?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this one is one I've been asking a lot because it's a huge kind of topic in the paranormal community as of late, and especially over on X, where everybody just slams everybody.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts, opinions, expressions on the word or the expression or the being of demons, demonic entities?
Well,
If you don't want to say anything, that is perfectly fine too.
no,
You can just say
I will happily say stuff because so the last question with the story,
yeah.
there has been confirmation twice from Lee's dead dad and from Thomas that this thing in Lee's back room is a demon.
Okay.
And I've never, like I said, like that investigation, everything that we've seen in The Conjuring, seen in Sinister, seen in Exorcist, seen all these crazy exaggerated things that it's like, not to say that, you know, demons didn't exist, possession didn't exist, but it was a question. I mean, we've never seen it before, right? We've only ever seen it on the big screen and the theaters, and you know, like that night I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like everything that they say is real. Like no joke, no doubt, no nothing. And it actually fried my camera. So I recently just got a new camera, and it's like, and it was so effortless. Like 1 minute it was working, I was recording, it was awesome. And all of a sudden I look and it turns off. And I'm like, okay, bad battery, right? Josh, I had 12 batteries. I tried every single one. Didn't work. And I'm like, I'm doing an investigation right now. I don't have time for this. Let's just use other cameras.
Right. Let's use a cell phone. We have a cell phone.
Something, right? And I go to a camera repair shop the next week, and he says, both your LCD unit and your motherboard are fried. And I was like,
all you were doing was filming.
What do you mean fried? And he was like, they're black. And I'm like, oh, what?
Okay. Yeah.
And, so I'm like,
that was called Devil's Fire. You know?
Yeah, literally. Like, got it. All right. So yes.
Okay. Because I didn't believe at first too much. Like I believed of a higher evil power, but I didn't believe it till the day I got thrown on the ground in a cemetery. Then I believed, because that thing was not human. Okay, and with the Indiana State Sanitarium, I can't say too much because it's not out yet.
Yep, understood.
And I'm not the first person to post. The girl is the one who got angry. But let's just say everything that happened that whole week from start to finish made us all believe that demonic things, evil things, demons are they're real, and people just are scared to admit it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the first time I believed when I literally got picked up by the back of my shirt and thrown on the ground in the cemetery, and I caught it all on camera. While
is that video live?
Oh, the video's out. It's called Skinwalker Cemetery.
Okay.
Yep. You gotta watch it. I caught it all on camera. I literally was in night vision mode, and my other camera was facing my friend who was doing the Estes method, and I literally, it says attack from the Spirit Talker app, and then all of a sudden I feel myself get picked up and thrown on the ground. Yeah, that's how I knew it was real.
All right, well, I know what I'm doing after this podcast.
Catching up. Yes, but I got one more final question for you, and this is going to be, what was the coolest piece or the most creepiest piece of evidence that you've ever caught while doing paranormal investigating?
Can I answer both?
Yeah, if you have both, go ahead.
So, I won't get too into it, but my growing up there, we had a back fence neighbor, unrelated. He was an old guy. He was really, really cool. And he was
Right.
like a grandpa to me.
Okay.
And, so anyway, so my junior year, that summer of high school, um, he lives alone. His wife died on Christmas. He had uh both knees replaced. He had hearing aids. He was legally half blind. Like I said, he just lived by himself.
Right.
And anyway, so we were gonna have him over for a family party. Didn't answer the phone once. Maybe didn't hear it. Maybe he's in the bathroom. Whatever. Didn't answer the phone twice.
Got
Tried
a
him
little bit worried now.
tried him a third time. Didn't answer. Me and my dad ran over there, found him on the ground. And he's been there for a total of, I think it was like a day and a half.
No.
And we're like, what the fuck, you know?
Right.
And anyway, so previously, to all of this, I've had a lot of family members in and out of the hospital. Only one has ever made it out, and that was my mom, which I'm very grateful for.
Yeah. No, for sure.
And so I developed this unhealthy mentality of, if you go into the hospital, you ain't coming back out.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so my dad called the ambulance. I was freaking out because I knew he'd be going to the hospital, right?
Right.
And anyway, so he was like, run home, tell mom what's going on. And so I did. And, you know, anyway, so he goes to the hospital that summer. Me and my mom and my dad was taking my buddy and I to the Wisconsin Dells. It was just a quick little getaway, right? Awesome. It was great. I was still really worried about, his name was Dick. I was still really worried about Dick. And anyway, so we're having fun. We're bowling. And all of a sudden, my mom's phone rings and she breaks down in tears. And I knew that was it. He died.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I was pissed. I was sad. I was this and that.
Right.
And, you know,
which is fair. That's like a normal,
right.
It's like a normal feeling.
And, you know, a couple months after, growing up, I would always hear Dick say, well, when it's my time, it's my time. Like, I don't want.
I hate when older people say that to me, man. They make me cry. Because, like, they know. Well,
and I didn't get it at the time. I was young. When
you're younger, you don't understand it.
Right.
But now when they tell me, I'm like, oh, don't.
Right. It's like,
you're going to live longer than me. Like,
right.
You know?
Right. And, so anyway, so like a month or two after, I was thinking about it. It was weighing on my mind, and I'm like, I remember before we left for vacation, the nurses kept telling us that he was like, he kept trying to pull his feeding tube out because, like you said, it was his time. And I tell my mom, or I asked my mom, I say, hey, like, do you think Dick, you know? And it was silent over the phone. Yeah. And I'm like, then I was hurt. I was, honestly, I regretfully so, but I was mad at him for not waiting because I wanted to say goodbye. You know, I wanted to see him again.
Right.
And anyway, so we do an investigation, and this is years later. I still, you know, I have a better understanding of why, and, you know, I get it, but it's like, fuck, you know, like, come on, you know?
Right. Rightfully so, you know?
And so growing up, we had a little thing, and it was, you know, I love you, Dick, and he would always say, well, I love you most, right? Anyway, so we were doing an investigation here, and we were just trying to reach out to Thomas and say hi, because we haven't in a long time. I was getting, this is before the cameras were rolling. We were making sure our equipment was good, and everything had batteries and whatnot. And I turn on the spirit box, and you know how, like, the spirit box, it'll kind of like like, it'll, like, you hear static.
Yeah.
I turn it on, And I don't know if it was world's biggest coincidence or if it was Dick, but I turn it on and I don't hear any radio static, but I hear "I love you most," and then it went straight to static.
That would
and I'm
almost
like,
be that.
I told Katana, I was like, I can't. I can't investigate. I can't. I don't want to do it.
Is that technically like the coolest piece of evidence, or is that kind of the creepy? Because it's a little bit of both.
I would say cool.
If you think about it, it's a little creepy because like you weren't ready for it.
It is like it's totally unexpected.
Crazy,
Personally, I think it's cool. That was my like.
No, definitely, it definitely is. But like, I can see where it's a little creepy for some people too. It's like, okay, I'm not just turning on this act. Like it's literally a spirit box is literally a radio.
Literally,
like you're turning on the radio, and you're hearing that specifically is just like, what?
Yeah. But no, craziest to me, and I would even say Katana too. We were doing an investigation here. We had our friend Spike over at the time. She was dating one of my buddies. His name was Ben, or his name is Ben. I talk about him like he's dead. And anyway, so going into it, not that Ben wasn't a believer, but it's kind of like I said, it's like, you see all this stuff in like Hollywood and it's like,
right,
is it real? Like he's never had an experience. And so his gauge was just the only reason he believed like 0.00001% is because he watched Ghost Adventures, and I would tell him stories about like.
Right, so you got the little bit to work with.
That question, and so before the investigation, in front of everyone, I had just said, "Hey, Thomas, like, I would really appreciate like if you showed Ben like, look at how cool this is.
I'm real, right? I'm real, even though I'm gone."
And he did just that. So at first we split up. So it was me and Ben upstairs, and Katana and Spike in the basement. And which, by the way, I will send you after the podcast. I will send you a video of our basement. It is something straight out of the Conjuring house. You got basements. You had to worry about attics. Dude, it's been a journey. It's been a journey.
Oh yeah, but not a journey with Josh. No.
But no, so everything was going great, and all of a sudden Ben goes, so we're doing, to preface, we're doing the SS method. He's hooked up, right. I'm asking the questions.
Gotcha. Okay.
He goes, "Are you sitting to my left?" And I was like, "Oh fuck, no." So a dog had jumped up on the couch. It's like, "Oh, And so I took off and I was like, "No, like that was Fury, our dog." And he goes, "Okay." Probably 10 minutes later, he goes, "Is someone on my right?" And I was like, "What?" And I yelled because I knew he couldn't hear me. I was like, "No." And he was like,
"Yeah,
no." I was like, "No." And he goes, and he looks at me and I'm like, "Look." And he goes, "I swear to God, I just felt someone sit on the couch."
No, see, that's,
Further into the investigation, we are all downstairs. We are running a double Estes method.
Love doing doubles.
It is so cool, especially when they start like talking to each other and stuff. It's like, whoa.
Full-on conversations.
It is so cool. Anyway, so the girls were under, the guys were asking questions. We had the basement door closed. I have a GoPro facing the basement door. I have a camera in my hand, and I have a camera on us. And anyway, so we're asking questions and whatnot, and all of a sudden, keep in mind, we live in a house that is over 160 years old.
Right.
So the doors are creaky.
Possibly go wrong.
It is, yeah, right, yeah. And So our husky is bell trained, so we have like a couple bells on the doors where if he rings
Gotcha,
it,
okay.
he goes outside.
Right.
So we have a bell on the basement door, and we hear the door creak open and the bells jingle. And both me and Ben look at each other,
Right.
and we hear,
No.
and I hear it, and instinctually I just go, hello?
Yeah.
And I hear hello back.
No.
And Ben looks at me and he goes, I swear to God, I just heard hello. I said, yeah.
Yeah. Craziest, creepiest. I'm out. Yeah.
Right. It's even crazier. Again, the girls are under. They have no idea what's going on. None. And so I go to look at it and like get it on camera, even though my GoPro's there. We had in the past like footage get stripped, files corrupted.
Oh yeah. I mean,
I'm sure you're right.
I have a $2,000 camera and a 1 terabyte SD card, and for some reason things still happen. So
right. So right. And as I'm going over there, Spike says, "Not there," and I'm thinking, what? Like they have no idea what is going on. Anyway, so later that night,
you're giving me goosebumps. I still gotta sleep tonight.
Sorry. I'm going over the footage in front of everybody.
Right.
There are 3 people watching me, and I'm going through the GoPro because one thing I didn't realize until after the fact is, like I said, the door creaks. There's no hiding that fact.
Right.
It's an old house. Bells. Like,
yeah.
When we got done investigating and when we went up, because after all of that, we still continued because we were still getting stuff, but it was
definitely.
It was like
it's just now the creep factor is right behind your ear, and you're having to turn every which way to make sure you're okay.
Absolutely. And so anyway, so everyone's watching me go through these GoPro files, and literally the only clip of the entire night was the clip that was going to be of the door opening. Yeah. And whatever was the culprit behind the hello, that file is corrupted. And I'm like,
yeah, of course it is. Yeah, of course.
What?
I've had that happen too, and it's insane.
So that was because it's not like, I don't know how to like, I know you're gonna get it, but like for the audience sake, like I don't know how to describe the fact that, like, when you start an investigation, it's almost like going up to a dog with a toy. It's like it's playtime. Like it's time to get spooky. And then when you put the stuff away, unless you live in a haunted house, which you just saw firsthand, stuff never really like continues. Like it's just kind of like, okay guys, like we'll talk to you later. Yeah, it's normal.
Right. It's like good night, kids. Like basic, good night, kids. Good night,
And the hello was, me and Katana describe it as like it is not up to us when they come out and play. Like they are here whether they like it or not. And it's like
that's so scary for you guys.
It is.
You sleep and
it's different. It's something different. I can't. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah. Well, that was crazy, cool, and all the above. Well, that's about it, huh?
Yeah, that was by far the scariest.
Yeah, that's something else. Yes, thank you for joining me, Brian.
Thank you for having me.
Can you just let everybody know where they can find you? Your Facebook, Twitter, whatever you may have. Just let them know, and I'll link it down in the description below.
Appreciate it. TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat, all the usernames are the same. ETU.185. Add me. I'll be happy to follow you guys back, talk to you. And that goes for I don't know if we have the same audience. I'm sure a couple sprouted.
A couple.
But if you guys, I cannot stress this enough. If you have not already, make sure to subscribe to Josh. I promise you, it is worth it. He is a genuine great guy. And I'll be honest, like, this is the first time we're talking, first time interacting. I feel like we just kind of picked up like we were talking for 5 years. Like, I don't know, it was a nice, like, refreshing, you know. So if there's anyone that deserves it, it's this guy. I promise.
I appreciate you. I appreciate that.
Of course.
But yeah, everything will be linked in the description below. Thank you once again, Brian, Exploring the Unknown, for joining me on Realm of the Dead. And for y'all, this has been another episode of Realm of the Dead, a paranormal podcast. And, well, I'll see y'all in another life. Peace. Stay safe.